What is going on, everybody? Jumbo Thick here, back with more Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, our Rise of the Forsaken campaign. Oh man, we've got an interesting episode ahead of us, I think. We'll see how well this goes, because of what happened the last when we left off. But before we get into that, let's hear from the Unfortunate Fellowship, as I am joined once again by our normal cast and crew. So let's start with one Marius Wolf. Or should I say Jumbo Smooth?
Hello everyone, I am Jumbo Smooth. I'll be playing the role of Marius Wolf this evening. I'm a miner. I've got gray hair. Mm-hmm. It's in a man bun.
God, I hate
short.
the man bun. I don't like it.
I like to bring attention to it.
I don't like the man bun.
It's part of my backstory,
God, I don't like it now.
For some of our original followers, if you remember, the first experience Marius had is he awoke to the world to a man shitting next to his bed.
I remember that.
Flashback?
No, I remember that. That was pretty fantastic.
Brief flashback.
That's the type of game we play here.
It's true. It's true. Thank you for that. How about we move on to Doobie?
What's going on, guys and gals? Doobie 209 reprising the role. Jameis McGreedy. Take a page from Jumbo Smooth's intro. Remember, Seamus came in with the noose around his neck, and chains. Mm-hmm. Mysterious backstory. Every time we go through one of these damn tunnels, I seem to meet someone from that faithful past.
Oh, yes. And he shall. And our latest arrival, but certainly one of our brightest stars.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Pierce Galactic.
That is me, Mr. Pierce Galactic. I will be playing the part of Bragandy Bonneau, who was just a kind of terrible person. A Bretonian noble. No great backstory on him. Just kind of a pompous Bretonian noble, snatched off the street by some rat men. Although he seems to being hanging out with these big brawny adventure type guys. He seems to be rubbing off on him, and we'll to see how that goes. But yeah.
So far, so good for our illustrious artist/writer. So, yes, that is the cast and crew. Let's just, let's get into it, guys. If you've made it this far in our program, you know what's happening. But for those possibly joining us, the Unfortunate Fellowship has found their way into the long-lost Carrick Zorn. Through strange means of transportation, they descended deep into the hold, not really knowing what to be looking for, trusting a book with a bound demon inside of it to guide them to their ultimate goal. They stumbled upon a dwarf in a rune-inscribed cell deep, deep in the dark. They managed to free said dwarf after an encounter with some spiders and some skaven, who then led them to a tomb of sorts that was being sieged by worshippers of the blood god and chaos dwarves that were aiding them. You managed to collect a few items in that, I believe Marius's demonic book 8, a scroll that was clutched in the hands of one of these long dead dwarves that were sealed in a kind of bronze-like material. If you will remember back, there was also a green stone hammered into this dwarf's skull, and he was holding a blood-red skull of some possible Coronate follower or demon. We don't know exactly. It definitely was a little bit too large to be a normal person. You were going to retrieve the skull when the doors were blown inward, and a massive battle ensued involving Dawizar, ogres, and a demon engine. Afterwards, I believe, Marius, that is where you obtained your newfound magical pick of questionable dwarven make. And one Seamus McCready lost his faithful repeater crossbow. Rest in peace, crossbow. Rest in peace.
Enter sad music.
Yes, exactly. If I could play sad music and not be banned by YouTube, I would. So, yes. You guys survived all of that. You did manage to collect the skull in the process, and were seemingly betrayed by one Zardum. Oh, man, it was bad.
The scoundrel.
Drogor Zardum apparently betrayed you. Not only did he take the skull off your hands, he also took all of Marius's explosive balls, who we've had so many jokes about. He ducked away in a side passage and disappeared, and seemingly left you to die, as there were a horde of chaos worshippers hot on your heels. You managed to sneak away, which has been very interesting because all of you have very low stealth skills, but somehow have managed to roll pretty well lately when it comes to that.
Fear helps.
I guess the fear must help, indeed.
Marius is at home underground. You know?
That is true. You do. I will say you in particular get advantages, but the rest of these guys do not, and yet they still have rolled pretty good. Regardless, though, you escaped the slathering horde, only to be set upon by spiders once again in the dark. Fought your way free of that. Well, more like ran scared from them. And then found yourself hunted down by some foul demons of Khorne. In particular, there were 3 flesh hounds and 2 bloodletters. Definitely a potent combination, as was very clear at the end of that battle, where one Seamus McCready and Marius Wolf almost met their end. You were saved by what you now believe to be the last remnants, the last bit of order left in this hold, as 3 dwarves of Carrick Zorn, seemingly survivors, slew the remaining demon that was going to take your skulls for his god, and brought you to a hidden room of sorts, where your unconscious bodies were tended to, while Bragadine attempted to lie about his importance, and was choked out.
He paid the price for his sins.
He did. He did. Not
Did
his
he
best
learn a lesson?
moment.
We don't know. Not
Probably
his best
won't be as worse, though.
Guaranteed.
I mean, he also got shot in the chest by
He
a
did.
crossbow.
He was shot. There was a
He sure was
there was a
mouthy.
pretty there was an awkward exchange. I'll give him that.
Yes,
it was
awkward indeed.
It was awkward. These dwarves didn't understand how these people were so civilized. There was a lot going on. Regardless of all that, now you were in the process of, you spoke to a dwarf by the name of, do you guys remember his name? Anybody?
Yes, his name was Caragrim Amberbelly.
Caragrim Amberbelly. Distant relative, or possibly close relative, of Thordoom Amberbelly, whom you know quite well. He was very excited. They were overjoyed to find out that some of their kin have lived and actually escaped this hellish place that is now Carrick Zorn. In doing so, you guys earned, through that tale, you earned the right to carry the, not necessarily ill-begotten, but chanced upon relics of Carrick Zorn in the sword and shield that Mr. Bragadine is carrying.
Gratefully.
Very archaic for dwarven terms, but very advanced for human terms, Thunderer, the massive black powder weapon that Seamus is carrying. And of course, the magical pick. Do you remember the name of your pick, Marius?
I do. It's Dringizon.
The Dringizon.
Slayer's Fang.
The Slayer's Fang. Whom they very skeptically left in your keeping, as apparently they were, well, you didn't make any tests, so I can't reveal what all happened in that. But regardless, they allowed you to keep these items and set you on your way, telling you that, for one, Marius, you would need to avenge those that led them to their downfall if you were going to carry this weapon. Which they somewhat informed you of, but told you that you should be on your way. You're not quite sure how that exchange went. There might be more to the story, who knows? You are currently being led by one of the dwarves that saved you. And you have removed yourselves from the room that you'd found yourself earlier, and he has led you into the hallway. And you are now moving at a decent pace in well, you don't know what direction. You have no idea where you're at. But he is moving with purpose and seems to know this hole like the back of his hand. As perhaps he spent hundreds of years wandering this place, who knows? And he seems to know every nook and cranny. And that's pretty much where we have left off. So, unfortunate fellowship. What would you like to do?
So we are following a dwarf.
Yes, and I will say he's moving quite stealthily. He is up ahead of you. He's leading the way. They basically were allowing the three of you to leave this place. They did make Marius make a promise, make an oath, and I believe they spoke to Seamus at certain lengths about his people.
Yes, they did. Do we have a marching order?
I assume that Bragadine is in the back, just trailing behind. Yeah.
Bragadine has got several critical wounds.
2, not several. 2.
You have 2. Bragadine, how... Let me see here. What is your toughness bonus?
It's a 4.
It's a 4. Okay. So if you incur 2 more critical wounds, you will be at risk for dying. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah. just so the rest of the fellowship knows that Bragadine might be a little less aggressive this session.
Yes. So you are moving at half speed, but for the purposes of narrative, you are trailing behind, but you're not drifting off into the darkness or anything like that. This dwarf.
Quick question.
Yes.
Would we have counted another day of like a rest with those other dwarves? Can I mark off a day?
Yeah, you can mark off one more day towards your many wounds.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, many wounds.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
That's fine. No problem. But yes, he's leading the way. He's not too far ahead, but he's also not exactly keeping up with the three of you. He was told to lead you, and it doesn't seem like he's enjoying it very much. You hear him grumbling up ahead a couple times. None of you speak Khazali, but you don't know if he can even speak a language you three can understand. He hasn't spoken to anybody, any of you at least. So there is that. I'm going to assume that probably Marius is in the lead, though. It'd probably be Marius, Seamus, and then Bragadine. That's been the marching order thus far.
Sounds good.
All right. Marius, you should try to talk to him. See if we figure out where we know where we're going. If we go and talk to the surface.
Kind of nod and kind of quietly try to get the dwarf's attention, you know.
Okay.
That's a dwarf.
And he glances back. How has a very stern look on his face.
Where were you going, Master Dwarf?
And he says, Drum, Ringam, Boom. And then he nods his head down the hall.
I kind of look back to the Seamus. I don't think he speaks Reichsfield.
I'll let you know, everywhere we go, nobody speaks the Reichsspiel.
True.
Give me, Bragadine, real quick. You have
Yes.
sixth sense, correct?
Yes.
You also have heightened hearing, correct?
Mhm, correct.
Bragadine, make me a perception check.
Oh no. It's 88, man. I'm deciding whether I want to burn a fortune right now. And, that's a crit. That's a crit fail. So,
No, it's not. Only doubles are.
88.
Excuse me. I thought you said 80. 88. Yes, that is a critical fail.
Yeah. So we're just gonna get these fortune points out of the way.
Okay.
It's better. You said perception?
Yes, perception.
Oh. I got a 36 out of 50.
You add
So-
you know what? You add 30 for your hearing.
Okay, so I got a 36 out of 80, so that's 4 levels of success.
Yes. So something, you just feel this almost kind of tingling sensation, Bragadine, as you're subtly behind the rest of the group, and the hair on the back of your neck stands on end, and you just feel like something's wrong behind you in the direction you have been leaving. You've made a few twists and turns down a few tunnels. You wouldn't know how to get back. You are rather lost. It's rather dark. The only light would be the light from Marius's candle, unless you still have your torch lit. Do you still have it lit?
Honestly, I don't. Sure. Let's say I do.
Okay, all right. So you'll have some decent light then. Nothing great, but enough to get some decent lighting, which means the dwarf is even farther ahead because he's staying out of the light of the torch, or at least trying to.
But I can see Seamus still, right?
You can see
Staying with
Seamus,
the
yes.
torch?
You can still
Okay,
see Seamus, and though you are drifting behind. But that doesn't matter much as you feel the nape of your neck begin to stiffen, and it gives you enough of a tip to just kind of heighten your senses. Particularly, you've always been gifted with a, let's just call it a unnatural sense of hearing. It's allowed you to snoop on many a party, many a noble.
Oh yes.
And you hear something reverberate down the hallway. And you hear
Behind me.
almost like a scream. It's very distant, but it sounds large and terrifying. And
Shame.
as you hear this, the dwarf also stops, Marius, and glances back in that direction.
Is there a problem, Master Dwarf?
And he mumbles something, and his eyes kind of go wide. And he grabs you by the collar, Marius.
Oh boy.
And he begins, he says a series of words which you don't understand. And he realizes that he's not getting through to you. So he points down the hall and then points to the right. And then he begins running in the direction that you guys came from.
That we came from.
He's running. It appears to be he's
Behind us.
running back behind you. He pointed forward. Away forward.
All right. Seamus, I think he means to help us. I think he wants us to go right.
There's something behind us, gentlemen.
All right, let's do what the dwarf wants, and I guess we'll. Well, should we help him?
Can I see anything?
Now, Seamus, you're kind of even Marius. It's so the sound is so distant that only somebody with a heightened sense of hearing would be able to hear this happening. So you won't be able to really see much. You just see the hallway. And it is the standard hallway that you guys have been traveling through. It's like a 20 by 20 hallway, very finely made, but obviously fallen into disrepair.
And the dwarf has already passed.
He's running. He's already ran past you at this point, Bragadine, and he's at a full sprint, which is kind of strange because for as much armor and the various pieces of like what you're assuming are some kind of leather that he's wearing, he's almost not making any noise. And he's very quickly moving away, and he's slipping into the darkness.
I don't know if we're in a position to fight. Marius, you're pretty messed up, and our short friend back there's got a bit of a gimp.
That is true.
There was a scream back there, gentlemen. It was... I don't want to see what's down there. I think we should go the other way. I don't know why the dwarf is running back there, but there was a terrible... It was... Did you not hear it?
I did not. I guess we shall go. And I say a little prayer to Sigmar to protect that dwarf.
Okay. As you do, make me... Ooh, what do I want to make you roll for that? You know what? Make me a willpower test, Marius.
Okay. Oh, nice. That's an 11 out of 50.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So Marius, in this exact moment, as you send up a prayer to Sigmar, all three of you hear a boom, like a detonation, and the hall begins to rumble. And you just hear this loud scream, and all of you can hear it now. It's extremely loud, and it's extremely familiar. It sounds a lot like that demon that crawled out of that machine down in the vault.
Oh, no.
Shit.
And you
We
know
heard a loud
something
boom.
is happening behind you. Well, it is your choice what you would like to do.
I'm heading away from the sound.
We got to go. We got to go now.
I'm
All
going.
right. Then I guess we head to the right, like the dwarf said.
Okay. You begin heading down the hall, and then you hang a right. And all you see is darkness. You keep moving. And eventually, even in the low light, Marius, you have decent eyes. You have what some would call night eyes. Dark vision of a sorts. And keeping ahead of Bragadine and Seamus, which is easily to do with Bragadine being as wounded as he is. After a few minutes, you come to an end. The tunnel just ends. You've not passed any doors, which is unusual. You would think there would be some kind of passages. Mm-hmm. And you have enough experience in this hole to know that there's probably something here. You just don't know where. So I'm going to need the three of you, if you all are helping, or you can just aid Marius and have him roll with advantages, in making me an intuition test to see if we can find a possible secret passage.
I think it would be better if Bragadine helped with advantages.
Okay. Same for you, Seamus?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can add a plus 20 to your roll.
Plus 20?
Yes.
Okay. That's a 20 out of 60.
Okay, 4 levels of success. So, Marius, you are glancing around nervously, and Seamus and Braggadine at this point, some time passes. A few minutes pass. And you can still hear this screaming like it's getting louder and louder in the distance. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass, and at this point, Marius is frantically pushing on just random pieces of masonry in the walls. You don't see any grooves or switches. There has to be something here. With 4 levels of success, after 15 minutes, your foot steps on what looks like just a small little piece of sculpturing, some elaborate, almost architecture that was kind of pitted into one of the walls at the end of this tunnel. And as it does, you hear a clicking noise. And one of those doorways pushes inwards and reveals a room beyond, dark. You have found the secret passage after some time.
Woohoo!
But you have found it nonetheless. A feat not many men would be capable of, but you managed it nonetheless. And as you find it, after so much time has passed, is anybody glancing backwards where you guys came from?
Yeah, I imagine by the time it took them to do that, I probably would have, got the gun ready.
Okay, so you have the gun leveled into the darkness. You can't see very well.
Nope.
So go ahead and give me a perception test, Seamus. Do you have any levels of exhaustion, or were those gone?
I was going to ask you about that if I talk with the dwarves. I had one left, so I don't know if that was long enough to get rid of it.
Was it before the fight or after the fight?
I want to assume I had one tacked on after the fight with how beat up I was.
That's right. All right, so you still have just the one then.
All right. In that case, I rolled a 19 out of 41.
Okay, that's still good. Very good. You're keeping your eyes peeled in the darkness. You're very much on edge and just kind of glancing back at Marius. I'm sure there's a few curses every once in a while telling him to hurry.
Oh, yes.
Braggadine looks like he's just his mind is about to snap. He's not looking too good. He's panicked. He's ready to leave. And you just can't seem to find a way out. When you finally do, Seamus, you hear the click and the sound of the door slowly moving away, allowing passage into this hidden entrance. And you see a figure stumble in your direction. What would you like to do?
A figure from the door that just opened?
No, from the hallway where you guys came from.
I will probably hold and wait for it to get closer because I probably can't recognize what it is yet, and I don't want to shoot a dwarf.
Okay. As this happens, what are the other two of you doing, Braggadine and Marius?
I'm assuming
right up next to Seamus, kind of pulling my shield up. Not as brave right now because I'm a little beat up.
Okay.
Well, looking back at the figure.
Yeah, I'll say that you see Seamus tighten, his kind of form tighten, and he's taking aim, and you know that he's spotted something. I'll say with your heightened sense of hearing, you are hearing uneven footsteps approaching you. Braggadine. Marius, you might be oblivious to this as you've been so focused on what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'd be just kind of focusing on the wall and trying to figure out how to open it, you know.
Okay, so as the door slides open, Marius, you notice that your companions are not approaching you. They're about 10 to 15 feet behind you.
I turn around. Come on, lads.
There's someone behind us.
How'd you get the fucking door open, Marius?
It's open. Let's go.
All right, I will turn my back to it, peel around, and go through.
Okay. Are you doing the same, Bragadine?
Can I see it yet? The figure?
Are you going to wait?
Can I do a auditory perception test to see if they're heavier footsteps or if they're lighter footsteps?
Yeah, go ahead and I'll let you make me a perception test with your plus 30.
Okay. All right. 30 perception. I think this is going to be good. Well, it's not good for me, but you're going to like it. I rolled a 66 over 50.
Critical failure.
That's right. That's right.
Jeez.
A lot of crits
Oh,
flying around.
no, wait.
No, wait, no, you should have it at an 80. Yeah.
I rolled a 66 out of 80.
Critical success. That's a huge difference.
You're telling me.
So let's put it like this. With a critical success, I mean, you're a fairly intelligent man, Bragadine. You have a knack
That's being generous.
for picking out detail. Might have something to do with, overhearing stories and being able to regurgitate them verbatim. You have a specific knack for sounds in particular. And it would be so hard for you to forget the footfalls of the dwarf that choked you out not too long ago. And it sounds, there was a bit of a crink in one of his boots, and you hear the same sound approaching. You are assuming it is the same dwarf.
I yell out, "Gentlemen, stop!" As my free action then.
Okay.
If that would have been an action, I guess my free action would be, "Gentlemen, stop!"
That's fine. So as you do that, you still have your torch, I'm assuming, up, and you see Caragrim Amberbelly stumble, bleeding profusely from many wounds over his body. The armor that he's wearing has been melted to his body. You would probably believe that demon caught up with the three of them.
Oh, shit.
And he is not looking good.
I rush over to him and I try to basically see if he'll allow me, like get one of his arms around my neck, and to try and help him. And again, I call out a little bit more volume. "Seamus, Marius, quick!"
Okay. What would you guys like to do, Seamus and Marius? I'm assuming your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You begin to rush back as Bragadine stumbles his way as well. He's not exactly in the best shape himself, but he makes it to him before the two of you do, and kind of catches Caragrim. I'm gonna need Bragadine to make me a strength check at -10 because he has a wounded arm.
Torn muscle. All right. Strength check. And that's just going to be, I'm just rolling under my strength then, right? No
you can roll me athletics. If you have athletics, it's the same.
Okay. Come on. Nope. 34 under 38, but that's a -10, right?
Yes, -10. So
I failed.
Yeah, it's a fail. Okay. Barely a fail, though. So you managed to get to him, Bragadine. And as soon as he sees that you are within reach, he's kind of shoulder against the wall at this point, trying to keep himself up. And as you approach, you just smell burnt hair, and you see that his beard has been singed, and what used to be almost dusting the floor is now about knee level, as most of it has been just burnt away. And his flesh is peeling. He looks like death rolled over. You don't know how he's still standing. And he stumbles in your direction, Bragadine. And you reach out to steady him, and you are not strong enough to keep this because he is rather heavy, even with all of the armor that he's probably lost. He's still a very stout dwarf. Yes. So he begins stumbling towards you, and you just don't have the strength to keep him up, and he slumps to the floor. Doesn't just crack his head open and die immediately, but he slumps to the floor. And you were just kind of standing there above him. At this point, Seamus and Marius, you have reached the dwarf, and you guys are free to do as you will.
Marius will try to pick up Caragrim.
Okay. No, from Marius, no check needed. He is more than strong enough.
Thank you.
You steady Caragrim. Are you going to just sit him against the wall, or are you going to attempt to stand him up?
I'm gonna try to get him through this door at least.
Okay. So you want to pick him up?
Here. Yeah, I want to pick him up.
As you pick him up, he coughs and blood just spurts all across your back as you kind of sling him over your shoulder.
Nice.
He smells horrible. He smells like sulfur.
That's the first time oh no! Not the first time I was covered in blood. Let's go, lads.
Okay.
Seamus,
I'm assuming you're making for the hidden door.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seamus.
Okay. All right. You guys peel away to the door, and as you do, Seamus, I'm assuming you're still the last one, probably back against the door, waiting for them to make their way through.
Yeah, covering their exit.
And as you cover the exit, Seamus, Bragadine passes you with the torch, and so there's no light. And then suddenly there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's really, really bright. And a clawed hand curves around the edge, and it is massive. From this distance, for you to be able to pick out the detail of the fingers, it must be huge. And as it presses into the stone itself begins to crack and spall as flakes are superheated and fall away. And you just see the edge of a huge, disgusting, molten skull peek around the corner and notice you.
Lads, we got to go now.
You step into the hidden doorway, and the three of you find yourself in a very similar room to one Drogor Zardum took you into to take yourself from the below level to the next level up. And you see a set of staircases in the exact same place as there was before, and they are, in fact, leading up.
Does the door close behind us?
Are you waiting to find out?
I'm just asking.
Okay. As you all step through, it doesn't close immediately.
Okay.
It might close because you noticed that they have closed before, so you would assume it would at some point.
Marius is getting his cardio on, running up the stairs with this dwarf.
Got it. All right. Marius, make me that. You know what? I'll be nice. Make me the strength check. I won't do athletics to you.
Thanks, bro. You know.
Yes.
That is a 13 out of 60.
It's insane. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
You would have been fine with an athletics test, even with a 13, so that's fine. So you begin sprinting up these stairs. Bragadine, I'm assuming you're doing the same?
To the best of my ability.
Yes, indeed. In fact, make me that athletics text, Bragadine, at -10.
Oh, man. Come on. 20. Oh. It's a 36, but I needed to get a 23.
So Bragadine begins sprinting up the stairs after Marius, and his wounded leg just doesn't quite make one of the steps.
Oh!
And he slips and falls face first onto the stones in front of him. Seamus, are you following behind?
I am.
Are you going to pick up one Bragadine, or are you going to just jump over him and continue upwards?
Yeah, I'll pick him up as I move.
Okay, then
aggressively.
no check needed. You reach down to pick him up, and as you reach down and grab a hold of him, you hear the scream once again, and it sounds like it's almost outside of the edge of the room you ducked into.
Get that Bragadine. We got to go now.
You pick him up, steady him, and begin moving as fast as you can. You make it several... I would say you probably run for at least a minute, Marius. You're hearing rumbling down below you. And then it stops. And you see Bragadine and Seamus catch up to you, and you've stopped at this point. Are you continuing up more, or are you going to stay where you are for now? Because you get the idea that as you've been running up these stairs, the dwarf you're carrying is getting worse and worse every step you take. You have a choice to make.
I'd probably try to stop and try to apply some healing.
Okay.
If I can.
So you stop and you set... I'm assuming you just kind of lean him up against like some of the stairs that you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you find a set of stairs like kind of in the corner that are a little bit larger to kind of set him on. You lean him there, and he's breathing heavily and not very quickly. It's very slow, heavy breaths. And as you set him down, you can see that both of his arms are just limp at his sides. And he locks eyes with you, Marius. And he is trying to speak, but his voice is just a whisper. You will need to lean in close to hear him.
Okay. Hang on there, my belly. And I start to apply the heal if I can. But
okay,
I kind of
go ahead and give me the heal check.
That's a 15 out of 37.
Okay.
Nice.
So you begin to assess him, and you're trying to figure out what you will be capable of. Do you you don't have the surgery trait,
No.
do you?
No,
Okay.
no.
This man, or dwarf, I should say, is beyond your abilities. You might be able to help him last a little longer, but he is in the process of dying. There's something that is going to require much more knowledge or magic to take care of inside of his body. And you get the idea with that check, because you did good enough, that he only has moments before he's probably not going to be here anymore.
Question.
Yes.
With that check, would Marius think if the healing potion that was given to Seamus would save this dwarf?
Okay, so...
I don't know the potency of these.
Yeah, exactly. You guys don't know the potency. Okay. So that would be an unknown factor. But you would know from your experience with magic and things like that, they cannot... So basically, mechanically speaking, you cannot be healed for wounds if you are actively bleeding.
Oh, okay. And I can't stop the bleeding because I don't have surgery.
You can't stop it because it is more than likely internal, and you
yeah.
would not be capable of fixing it. So this dwarf is bleeding out and is going to die soon, essentially. So you would know that it probably wouldn't work.
Well, probably try just to make him comfortable and
okay,
just try to lean in and if he has something to say. You know?
And he's whispering to you in his kind of archaic version of Reichspiel that you can somewhat understand. Mm-hmm. And as you lean in, only you can hear this. Well, actually, one braggading Bonneau could listen in.
Before I do, I want to take one of the dwarven hand axes.
Yes.
And I want to put it in his hand, kind of close his hand up for him. Just put it in his hand.
And he looks extremely grateful as you do. And
then I'll lean in.
Okay. And as you lean in, he whispers, but I'm not going to whisper because, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's whispering to you. Braggadine can hear this as well because of his heightened sense of hearing. Mm-hmm. Seamus, you're probably nervously looking down the hall, waiting for something to appear. He whispers to you, "There is a Dawizar called Moore's Coalmouth. He wears a suit of hell-forged armor, has a tall hat with spikes of bronze upon it. He is responsible for our deaths. His infernal war machines cracked our hold like Roby's skulls for Crom. Without his aid in the treachery of the foul Thagaraki, we would have easily swept aside this filth." And he looks down at the axe you placed in his hand. "Manling, you seem to have honor about you." He looks very sternly into your eyes, Marius. Mm-hmm. "I pass this oath of vengeance onto you. Find Moraz. Slay Crom if you can. Our people will never find peace and be accepted into the halls of our ancestors."
"It will be done, Master Dwarf."
"Moraz can be found here, near the tombs of our ancestors. He seeks the vault." And then he kind of coughs a little bit more blood into his hands, onto his chest. He can't really move his arms. "Though it appears that you have beat him to it. One of the reasons we wish to see you out, for he desires the Seeing Stone. And if captured, your frail manling mind would give up its location after the horrors he would inflict upon you."
Marius would probably just be kind of sitting there taking it all in, you know. Don't worry, we won't allow him to take us alive.
"Good, manling, good. Give little Thordoom my regards." And he's slowly fading away.
"May your ancestors watch over you."
And his eyes glaze over, and he is dead. The last surviving dwarf of Carrickzorn is no more.
No.
And that's where we're going to take our first break. Bit of a little bit shorter part, but I felt like it was a good stopping point.
Yeah.
Sad music plays.
Sad music plays. Sad music is playing right now in my mind.
Weeping quietly.
Yes, exactly. So that's going to be our first break.